Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Sam's Long Balls podcast with me, Dan. Now, finally, the footy is back tomorrow. Cannot wait for Champions League football to return after all of football has been cancelled uh, over the weekend, and obviously for next weekend coming up with obviously the death of the Queen. So, very, very sad and all that. We must pay our respects, but it is equally great that we're going to have the football back. Now, in this video, I'm going to be doing a bit of a sort of build up preview and a starting 11, sort of a little bit of a prediction and throwing in some of my thoughts of what I would do for my team, Liverpool, as they host Ajax in what feels already in game week 2 in the Champions League is a bit of a must win. Obviously, 6 days ago, or it will be 6 days tomorrow once we start playing. We went away to Naples, got absolutely thrashed, a tepid, timid performance from the once mighty mentality monsters Reds. They're morphing more and more into this fragility monsters at this current moment in time. It is incredibly worrying. Poor performances after poor performances. We really needed to stop the rut. And unfortunately, last week's game against Napoli was probably the worst, not just the worst this season, but arguably the worst in Jurgen Klopp's tenure. I think that's up for debate because there have been one or two really, really poor performances. But I think Jurgen Klopp today in his press conference said that it was the worst game. People got a little bit excited last week at the end of the game. If we could be excited after being thrashed, where he sort of hinted at a, a change maybe in formation, a change in tactics, a change in style. I personally don't think it will be too much of a change, maybe just small little things, but obviously, as someone who does football YouTube videos, it certainly is exciting to think about how Liverpool can play in different formations, potentially three at the back or 4-2-3-1 or whatever, and so on and so on. But personally and realistically, I probably would imagine that Jurgen Klopp will stick to the 4-3-3 that has done wonders for him and this Liverpool team over the last 6 or 7 years. So with that said, let's jump straight in, shall we, with my prediction of what I think Jurgen Klopp is going to go for. But before we just start, before we jump in, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has got involved with the channel recently, to everyone who subscribed, liked these videos. We are really, really close to 100 subscribers. It's such I know in the grand schemes of things on YouTube, your 100 subscribers is very, very small, and of course it is, but it's taken a long time to get anywhere near that. So the idea that there's nearly 100 of you who have subscribed and sort of regularly watch our content, and for everyone who gets involved in the comments, we have some amazing comments on some of the videos. So much footballing knowledge that some of you guys have got. So every time someone writes a comment, I absolutely love it. So hopefully that can continue. So if you're new to this channel and you just want to check us out, then definitely subscribe, give this video a like if you can, and just support this very, very small footballing channel. So yeah, thank you guys so much for your support. But anyway, this is going to be my first sort of starting 11 of what I think could potentially be seen at Anfield tomorrow night. This one is sort of in keeping with the 4-3-3. I haven't really changed the tactics too much. Obviously, so going with the back five, obviously Alisson Becker has to play unless things get worse and he becomes injured. Probably been along with Luis Diaz, really player of the season. I know sort of some shouts for Harvey Elliott as well. I think those three, Diaz, Elliott, and Alisson have probably realistically been our three best players so far. I was going to chuck Robbo in because I did assume that maybe Jurgen Klopp would throw Andy Robertson, especially with the best part of a week's rest, seeing as the game against Wolves was cancelled at the weekend. But unfortunately, today we found out that Andy Robertson is now out injured. Hopefully, it won't be a huge injury for Robertson, but Jurgen Klopp has confirmed that he will be out, at least until after the international break. So over the next couple of weeks. The downside is it's another injury added on to the awful amount of injuries that we've had to begin with at the start of the season. It's an injury to a big player, a key player. However, Andy Robertson, I don't much like the majority of Liverpool players right now, is not playing anywhere near the level that we know that he can play at. And Kostas Tsimikas, I think, is a player that deserves an opportunity whenever he has played for Liverpool over the last sort of year or so in particular. Not necessarily his first season, but over the last year, he's played really, really, really well, whether he's played a full game or a cameo here and there. And I think that goes the same this season, really. Odd couple of cameos where it hasn't sort of worked for him, but I think he's gotten better and better with each game. I thought he played quite well away at Everton, actually. And once he got really into the game, Jurgen Klopp subbed him off along with Trent, which I thought was a bit of a weird one. But anyway, so sad news that Robertson's out, but an opportunity for Tsimikas now, rather than the odd cameo or the odd start here and there. He can now hopefully start these next couple of games, obviously depending on how many games actually go ahead over the next week or so. So for me, it's going to be Alisson in goal. As we said, Tsimikas at left back without Andy Robertson, Van Dijk and Matip at centre back, because I do think that is our strongest centre back pairing, and we need to get our best players on the pitch. I think that's a case for any football team, but especially when Liverpool playing the way that they are, we are in a bit of a rut. We need our best players there, and I think that Matip accommodates Van Dijk better than Gomez, and possibly better than Kanate as well. It's touch and go. I really like Joe Gomez. I think he's a top player. But my criticism of Liverpool this season, if I had to really sum it up, is I think we're chaotic. We're too chaotic on the ball, off the ball. We're not winning those challenges, those second phase balls in those transitions. We're not pressing properly or counter pressing. Teams are able to skip through us too easily, and when we're on the ball, too many mistakes. And I think Joe Gomez epitomizes that whole game or that whole half against Napoli. He gave the ball away with two horrendous mistakes a few days before he did something very similar at Everton. So there's a lack of composure, I think, when Joe Gomez plays. I'm not going to blame him for us conceding 3 or 4 goals against Napoli and for us sort of being in poor form. But, the whole team right now, I think you could describe it as chaotic. And I think that is Joe Gomez at this moment in time. Obviously, he was substituted last week after 45 minutes. I don't think after a performance like that, you can come straight back into the team. So Matip, he has that air of calmness. He's better on the ball at this moment in time in their careers. Obviously, he is a fair bit older than Joe Gomez. He is in a better place and he is a better player. So Matip for me comes in. Talking of Van Dijk, he does need to step up. Obviously, I think he's going to be a guaranteed starter at Liverpool because he's Virgil van Dijk, and while Jordan Henderson's out, he's going to wear the captain's armband. But his performances at this moment in time are substandard, to say the least. So we can talk about Gomez and how poor he was. Van Dijk needs to step up, but we all know that he has the ability to do that. And hopefully with a calmer or a more compact midfield and probably the better centre half partner next to him at this moment in time in Joel Matip, maybe that will bring out Van Dijk to somewhere near his best, because we really, really need Van Dijk to get back to that level that he was at last season. All this talk about him, pre-injury, is kind of drivel. So many of these pundits or experts talking about he's not been the same player since. Well, last year he arguably went up another level. So he can do it, and I'm sure that he will. So he just needs to get back there as soon as possible. For me, Trent plays. I know it's a bit of a hot topic. This one, should Trent Alexander-Arnold be playing? I'd probably say no. Realistically, he should be out of this team. He should be dropped. However, I've chucked him in because there's no other options at this moment in time. Obviously, we've got Ramsey, who we brought in over the summer. Unfortunately, he's picked up an injury or we spotted something. I can't remember why he's out actually at this moment in time. He played one game in pre-season. He hasn't been seen since. He has not played a minute of competitive football. So even if he was fit, you wouldn't chuck him in, at home against Ajax, who are at this current moment in time one of the best attacking teams in all of Europe. They've won their last 2 games 9-0 altogether, beating Rangers 4-0 and then winning 5-0 this weekend. Of all the games that they played, I think over in Holland and in Europe, well, the one game they played in Europe so far, I believe they've scored maybe 20 odd goals and they've only conceded 3. So they're in brilliant form at this moment in time. I think it's the best start that they've had since maybe the mid-90s. I remember reading that as a stat. I might be wrong on that, but I believe it is true. So we are going to be facing a team that are very much in form. So who do you play at right back? Obviously, if Ramsey was available, I wouldn't chuck him in. The thing is he's not available, so there's no point talking about him. You could put Joe Gomez out there. Joe Gomez had to be taken off at halftime because he was so bad against Napoli, and then you want to put him in a position where he's less comfortable in at right back. I don't think would do him the world of good. And James Milner at right back is just not. It's just not what we want to see. So Trent Alexander-Arnold, for me, has to come in at right back. There's no other options. We know that he's not the best defender in the world, but equally we know that he can play a lot better than this, a lot more intense than this. So it might be the situation for Trent that he just has to keep playing until he finds himself into form. One positive I would have with Trent playing in this game is I don't see Ajax coming and playing a low block and playing defensive football. To be honest, Napoli didn't really play a low block against us massively, but Ajax will be on the front foot. They will press us. They will try and play expansive football, which is going to cause us a lot of problems, especially defensively, where we've been so unsecure defensively. However, we know how good Trent is going forward. And to be fair to him, there's been a few times this season where he's played some absolutely fantastic cross-field passes. He should have more assists. He should be up, the numbers where he is usually, but the offensive players have not been able to convert those chances. So if Ajax do play forward attacking football, obviously we need to be on it defensively. But every time Trent gets the ball, there may be those spaces for the likes of Diaz and hopefully Nunez or Jota or Salah, whoever starts up top, to get in behind and really get in at goal. So a possibility here for Trent to play his natural game and hopefully get an assist or two and just come out of it feeling like a hell of a lot better. With this formation, I stuck with the 4-3-3. Fabinho starts. I think it's another sort of questionable one. His form at this moment in time is really, really poor. Perhaps if Henderson was fit, you might take Fabinho out and chuck Jordan Henderson in. Unfortunately, Henderson is not available at this moment in time. So Fabinho comes in. I don't see him playing as poorly as he did away at Napoli. He's had the best part of a week really to sort of recover, to rest, to train. And also probably the biggest positivity is hopefully this guy starts. Thiago came back against Napoli, was really, along with Luis Diaz, was the only sort of positivity for me last week. Once Thiago came onto the pitch, Napoli's attacks happened less and less. We started to gain more control. That we started to press more. Certainly started to counter press. We were winning those transitions. We were finding spaces. Link up with Nunez, I thought, and Diaz. I thought was quite exciting. A little bit frustrating because we didn't score any more goals. I felt like we could have done, but that was one of the rare positives last week. And once Thiago came on defensively, we looked so much better. Fabinho suddenly looked more comfortable. He was being given more support. Our midfield looked far more compact. We were winning those second balls, and we looked more like our usual selves. And offensively, every time he got the ball, things were starting to happen. There was nothing amazing, but compared to the rest of the performance, it was on a level above. So hopefully Thiago is fit enough to start. I believe he will be. If he does, I think Fabinho instantly goes up another level because, again, he's got that support. Right now, if he's playing with Milner and Harvey Elliott, and I have left Harvey Elliott out, and I will get to that, he's just isolated. So although I think that Fabinho is out of form, and I think, we can critique him for some of the poor things that he's doing in games, equally, I think he's being hung out to dry right now, and he's almost having to do a three-man midfield job entirely by himself, and it's just not fair. So anyone's going to look poor with the way that Liverpool are playing right now. Like I said, Fabinho is out of form, but with the way that the other players are playing in front of him and around him, look, it's not great. So I've taken out Harvey Elliott from that right-hand side of a midfield three. Now, I know some of you will be thinking, why have you done that? He's probably been our best player this season or our best midfielder. And I think arguably, yes. Certainly, in those tight spaces when he's gotten on the ball, we've seen glimpses of his quality. I think he will become a very, very top player for Liverpool. However, I don't think right now it suits him being in this 4-3-3 in this right-hand side, because this right-hand side is weak. Trent, we all know, is very, 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 very weak defensively. And I think they're just Salah, Trent, Elliott, they're all kind of running into each other's spaces. I think when we lose the ball, obviously it's been highlighted so much this week, in particular since the Napoli game, how much we've missed Gini Wijnaldum and all of Gini's compilation videos this past week of how much we've missed him. And I think it's a fair point. I think Wijnaldum was a player that was heavily overlooked at times at Liverpool, and people wanted more goals, people wanted more assists from him, but he played the system to a T. When Wijnaldum was at Newcastle, he could play as a wide man at number 10. He did the same for Holland. He was scoring goals, getting assists for Newcastle, for Holland. That went out of the window at Liverpool. It wasn't that he wasn't capable. It's that Jurgen Klopp wanted him to play that more defensive role, to win those second balls, to cover a Trent or a Robertson or a Shimikas, whoever it was, to almost sacrifice some of his game to allow the rest of the team to play. And he was a real system player. Liverpool are in the midst of trying to change, and we're not playing in that same style that we were a couple of years ago with Gini Wijnaldum. So maybe it's a little bit unfair comparison to compare Harvey Elliott to Wijnaldum, but I do think it's understandable and it is fair to a degree, because we're seeing this real level of weakness in our midfield right now. And I'm a big fan of Harvey Elliott, but I don't think he suits playing in a midfield three. I really, really don't. Maybe going forward he will as he gets older, as he bulks out. I don't think it is necessarily just physicality, but it's not in his natural game to be winning those sort of second balls as much as it is for, say, a Genie Wijnaldum. So it's teething problems. It's going to take time. I do feel that we're trying to implement a little bit of similar tactics that Manchester City have in recent seasons with putting someone like a Bernardo Silva in that midfield three. It's going to take time and it's going to be frustrating. However, with the way that Liverpool are playing at this moment in time and playing up against a very, very attack-minded team in Ajax, I would be interested to see Arthur play. I personally don't see it happening. I would imagine Harvey Elliott would play up over Arthur, but if Arthur could come in and do something similar that Wijnaldum did, or ideally something similar to what Thiago can do in this Liverpool team, but on that right-hand side and just support Trent and give a little bit more balance to Fabinho, then it might be the way to go. Maybe not long term, maybe not throughout the whole season, but just for tomorrow's game against Ajax, and maybe for the next sort of month or so until players can come back fit and form starts to sort of naturally come into these players. So yeah, I'd be interested to see Arthur play in that midfield role over Harvey Elliott. In terms of attack, I've taken it swings and roundabouts really who we play up top, whether it's Darwin Núñez or Diogo Jota. I would be more than happy to see either one of them in the starting lineup tomorrow night against Ajax. The reason why I've gone for Darwin, look, I think it's going to be Diaz and I think it's going to be Salah right now. Diaz is our best attacker. Salah just needs to keep playing because despite being so out of form and sort of drifting out wide and not really getting into games, he's still our best goal scorer. He's still usually our top scorer and he's still the player that will, I think, put fear into the opposition more than any other player. I've gone with Darwin Núñez for this game because I just think it's important for him to play now. It's really, really difficult for him at this moment in time. Obviously, with such a high transfer fee, the hype about him. There's already been some news articles saying that he's, the biggest mistake of Jurgen Klopp's career, and there's been leaks from Liverpool that they regret signing him. It's absolute nonsense. He's played a total of two, maybe three games in his Liverpool career to date. So how you could label him a flop is kind of ridiculous. And the comparisons with Erling Haaland obviously do not help. Erling Haaland right now is a better player than Darwin Núñez. I think as Liverpool fans, we can all admit that. He's a freak of nature, this guy. And Manchester City, unfortunately, are a better team than Liverpool and a more creative team. So, it's night and day comparing Haaland to Núñez at this moment in time. However, what I would say is I do feel that we have got a terrific striker on our hands, the same way that I think that we've got a terrific striker or a terrific attacker in Diogo Jota, whether he plays up top or whether he plays on that left-hand side. So I feel that there is something very, very special about Darwin Núñez. I think he's incredibly raw. We've already seen that. His first touch at times isn't brilliant. He's not the most technically gifted player, especially when you compare him to someone like a Bobby Firmino. He can give the ball away. He can be frustrating. But equally, I do feel that if you get the ball into the box, he's got incredible pace. He's got strength. He's going to be a nightmare for defenders. And I think once we can unlock it, and I don't know how you necessarily do unlock it, but I think once we can, or if we can, and I do believe that we will, he will be one of the best strikers in world football. But we just need patience and we need time. So tomorrow night, it doesn't really bother me whether Darwin Núñez or Diogo Jota starts up top. I've gone for Darwin Núñez just simply because I think he needs to play regularly. I think it must be incredibly difficult for him right now with all the hype and comparisons and the criticism. And then he plays a game, then he's out, plays a game, then he's out. Obviously, self-inflicted by going around headbutting people, but understandable when Liverpool playing the way that they are. But I think he needs a run of games right now. And I think alongside the likes of Diaz and Salah, which would probably be our strongest front three at this moment in time, would do him the world of good. Obviously, Luis Diaz on that left-hand side to keep doing what he's doing. He is our best player at this moment in time. Hopefully, him and Tsimikas can form up a strong connection over the next few weeks. If there's one criticism I can have of Diaz, and it's not just of Diaz, it's of Diaz and Robertson. I really do feel that those two are struggling as a partnership at this moment in time. Look, Robertson and Mane was just brilliant, and it seemed to click straight away, those two. Robertson and Diaz for me haven't clicked quite as well. Hopefully they will. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. but it does give an opportunity for Tsimikas to have a run of games in this team now and to form a real link up with Thiago and Diaz on that left-hand side. So that might be a team that could potentially start against Ajax tomorrow. I think that would be the more likely than my second option. However, the only thing that I could see more realistically happening tomorrow would be Arthur coming out and either Elliot or potentially James Milner coming in on that right-hand side. But I do think Liverpool will stick to a 4-3-3. I think it'll be a variation, whether Liverpool sit back a little bit more, or I don't know what the tactical change-up will be, but I can't see a massive formation change. However, let's look at my second lineup or something that I would like to see. This would be something I would like to see more personally. I've swapped out Jota or Nunes because, like I said, that it doesn't bother me who plays. Both are goal scorers. If anything, probably Jota is a better goal scorer at this moment in time in his career. So maybe you could lean more towards Diego Jota starting tomorrow. But if Darwin Nunes starts, I'll be more than happy to see that happen. A European night at Anfield. If he could get his first goal for us at Anfield at the Kop end, it would do him the world of good. But anyway, I'll quickly go through this one. Same back five. The main difference is Harvey Elliott, and to bring this guy in, I feel, like I said, I'm not going to keep going over what I've said, but I do feel that the 4-3-3 isn't helping Harvey Elliott, especially on that right hand side. I think his weaknesses coincide with Trent's weaknesses, and that doesn't work. Maybe if we was insistent on keeping the 4-3-3 and wanting to implement Harvey in that system, something I'd be slightly more interested in seeing would be if Thiago could move over to the right-hand side where he could form a partnership with Trent and Salah, and Harvey Elliott moving over to that left-hand side, so he'll be playing in front of the likes of Virgil and Tsimikas and have Diaz out in front of him. So that would be something that I'd be a little bit more interested in seeing. I don't think it's working on that right-hand side. So if we played a 4-3-3, I'd rather see Harvey Elliott on that left of a midfield three. We haven't seen it so far. In fact, we've never seen it, so I don't know if that would happen. But yeah, if we're going to play Harvey Elliott, I'd like to see a 4-2-3-1. This would be something I would like to see. Personally, I don't think we're going to. Like I said, I think Jurgen Klopp is going to stick to that 4-3-3. But anyway, same back five. Thiago, Fabinho is a double pivot. Those two sitting and hopefully dominating the tempo of the play, especially Thiago. Salah on that right, Diaz on that left, Jota or Darwin Nunes up top, doesn't matter. And Elliott in that number 10, he can slot into a midfield three when need be, but give him that free role. And it would especially be interesting if you play that number 10 and a bit of freedom. Every time Diaz gets the ball and he tries to cut inside, for Elliott to be able to get onto that overlap, and suddenly he's on a stronger foot and he can whip those balls into the box first time for the likes of Jota, for the likes of Diaz. Either whip it in or trying for them to try and get a header on. Obviously, both players very, very strong in the air, or thrash it across the 6-yard box for someone like Jota, the slotter. He could equally do something similar when Salah cuts inside. Harvey Elliott can then sort of go on the overlap. I just feel that this guy's a very, very talented footballer, and I'd rather see him a little bit further up the pitch, give him that freedom, that role where he can just get on the ball in and around sort of our strikers and worry the opposition centre backs, rather than picking up the ball from our own centre halves and sort of having to spend so much time sort of recovering and covering for Trent Alexander-Arnold, which I don't think is suiting anyone at this moment in time. But anyway, guys, that's just my opinion. You might disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give us a like and subscribe. We would massively appreciate that. Comment down below your starting 11s for tomorrow, for tomorrow's game against Ajax, and also let me know your score predictions. This is, I think, after game week 2, a bit of a must win. I don't even think really a draw is that good. Look, it probably won't be the end of the world, but with the way that we're playing at this moment in time, I think a win is massively needed, especially with such huge gaps in between games because of what's happening outside of football at this moment in time. So I think we're going to play more 4-3-3 and sort of the same as my first sort of starting lineup that we saw on the screen, and probably Arthur comes out and Elliott comes in. However, I would be more interested in seeing the second one with a 4-2-3-1. Let me know what you would like to see tomorrow and what you also think Jurgen Klopp is going to do. Let me know your score predictions. I'm going to go with a 1-0, a scrappy, scary, nerve-wracking 1-0 win for Liverpool. and it's going to be Darwin Núñez. He's going to score his first goal at Anfield under the lights, European night, and it's going to kick off his season and kick off Liverpool's season. So, yeah, a 1-0 win for Liverpool tomorrow night, and Ajax to have a goal ruled out by VAR. So it's going to happen. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Give us a like, subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you very, very soon. So thank you so much for watching.